Welcome.
Welcome.
Welcome
to the KINETIQ Life Podcast, brought to you by KINETIQ Renew.
This podcast is dedicated to helping you find your way to your dreams, your goals, and your success. We'll be fueling that with key information on topics like health, science, tech, and lifestyle, coated with a few laughs along the way. In this episode, knowledge is power. Teach yourself something new every day. You never know when you're gonna need it. Outsourcing your memory to digital devices. Does it help you remember or make your memory better? We'll find out. Biofilm Batteries. Your next Apple Watch might be powered by dead bacteria. Synthetic embryos grown from stem cells? Well, we won't be needing an egg or sperm anymore. A common parasite can make you more attractive, and it's much cheaper than the alternatives. Plus a few helpful tips and tricks to help you on your journey to success. And now we begin. Here's Michael Chalavutis and Dr. Mark Hertzberg.
Welcome back to another exciting episode of the KINETIQ Life Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Chalavutis, and I'm here with my good friend, Dr. Mark Hertzberg.
According to the classic song, in the year 2525, what year did it just become according to News and Science? Stay tuned for answers to this.
I think my buddy's losing his mind a little bit, but we'll find out what that's all about in a little bit later on in the show. In the meantime, switching it up, no quote, but we're going with the advice of the day. One of my favorite, which is knowledge is power, which I always thought that was the NBC thing, but NBC was actually the more you know. But it kind of falls in line. The more you know, the better prepared you are, which then goes to the quote. Preparation, luck is the moment preparation meets opportunity. So the more knowledge you have, maybe the luckier you'll be. Or the more prepared you will be for whatever life sends your way. So learn something new every day.
Hey, knowledge is power. If I know what you're holding in your hand and we're playing poker, I'm going to win.
Oh, yeah. But besides, that, just knowing maybe a little piece of knowledge to help save you if your car breaks down or stuck in the woods, or maybe surprise presentation at work. If you're prepared or you know what, a little extra, might go a long way in helping you succeed in your life.
Well, the difference between what you do and what you should have done is after the fact, you have more knowledge.
So knowing beforehand.
So the more
less
you have
mistakes.
beforehand, yes, the more power you have. And before we get to science news of the week, let's get to personal news of the week. Anything interesting happen, Michael?
Interesting.
This past week.
I don't know. Can't think of it. Oh, yes. I took the plunge. I am now a married man.
That's why you look so distinguished and older.
Distinguished? Yes. Older? It's all the frame of mind.
Okay, then. So, speaking of things like that, it's going to tie into themes we have discussed to do, not today, but in general, when we talk about success and lifestyles and things like that, which is, you can't really be successful if you don't determine a goal to achieve. So how long ago did you decide that you wanted to marry this person? I'm saying person because these days I don't want to jump to conclusions.
2018 is when I decided I wanted to marry my wife, and so that's about 4 years ago.
Well, a wife is a good person to marry. Okay, so you had a goal and you built towards it, so you could say that you have achieved a success, since this is a definite. It's like winning a game. This is a definite, I wanted this, and this has been established. What else did you do last week?
I tried to cram as many life events as I can in 1 week, and I...
Hence the bad back, but go on.
And I am closing on a home.
You see, knowledge is power. I'm answering these questions because I know the answer I'm forcing out of this gentleman. Okay, so you were closing on a home. This leads to another thing we're going to want to really get into in the future, which is if you have a lifestyle you want to lead, a goal to succeed, the idea that I'm going to spend 40 years working and sweating, so at that point I can live this lifestyle, And what happens if when you finally live it, you don't love it? You have to start in little ways living the lifestyle you want as soon as you can and just build it better and more fuller, realize it. So
It's like dating someone before you decide you want to marry them.
Well, at first you're testing and searching, but then at a certain point, you might say, no, I know this is the one, but just beginning, we're not married yet, but let's start living some of that lifestyle.
Committed relationship,
And-
getting things together, right? Makes sense.
You skip let's get a little studio apartment and cram in there to let's get the home, we can build a little picket fence. So you're starting the lifestyle now. It might not be what you envision it to be in 20 years, but so it's not as fulfilled, as built up, as deep, but you are starting to live the lifestyle ASAP.
Yes, work towards something and, trying to enjoy the moment and work towards an end goal, which, well, I guess it's concerning.
Not an end goal, a goal.
A goal, yeah,
There's
a goal.
no end goal. Then you're dead.
Yeah,
There's goals along the way.
That's true. Well, how do marriages end? There's only two ways to end. One's divorce. What's the other way?
Well, there's divorce, there's amnesia, and that other way.
It's divorce or death. Throwing amnesia in there is the limbo. I don't know.
It makes a lot of good TV show and movies. Amnesia's a big one.
The Kinetic Life podcast is sponsored by KINETIQ Renew. KINETIQ Renew is a 4-ounce shot of all-natural ingredients that deliver some amazing benefits, like improved mental clarity, long and short-term focus, and improved memory and cognition. Plus, KINETIQ Renew improves mood with the added benefits of anti-stress and anti-anxiety. Here's what people are saying.
I drink a bottle of KINETIQ Renew, and I'm in a better mood. It's like waking up on the right side of the bed. It's great.
My mental focus is clearly better.
I do notice that I have better clarity. Definitely improves my mood for sure. It reduces my stress.
Visit kineticlife.com today. Log on now and use promo code POD1 for 30% off. That's 30% off your order when you use promo code POD1. KINETIQLife.com. KINETIQ Life.com. Do it now. You're going to love KINETIQ Renew.
Outsourcing your memory. It's a little bit different than what you think it is. It's more of our electronic devices. Are they destroying our memory or making it a little bit better? Are we utilizing, is their use helping us or making things worse?
Actually, you just said something that puts a new nuance that we haven't discussed before. Because there's a difference between does it help you remember and does it make your memory better? So something that you put things on that helps you remember them can help you remember, but if you depend on it too much, it might be weakening your memory. But anyway, let's get to the details of this new study.
Okay, so the study wanted to test whether the use of a digital device, your cell phone, tablet, computer, whatever it may be, will improve your memory. So they had a test in which they had to move circles to different locations on a screen. Each circle had a different value, and some values were higher than others. And based on the success of them remembering where all those little circles are supposed to be, they got paid some kind of monetary value. Now, initially, they just tested their baseline memory. Then they supplied them with a digital device where they could take notes. Obviously, the test subjects were putting notes on the locations of the higher valued circles because who doesn't want to get paid more? And they found that not only did they did better with the high valued circles they could take notes for, but they also were able to use their memory for the lower value circles. So they just overall did better. But the problem was when they took the device away, those individuals had no idea where the high value circles went. They just memorized the lower value circles because that's all they felt the need to memorize during the test.
Well, this brings up a couple things. Number one, it proves Einstein right, who in the early 50s, when they were trying to get him to appear on game shows, and he was turning it down, and they said, but you know so many of these trivial things, like we could ask you questions about numbers and stuff, that are used in science. And he goes, Why would I waste my time memorizing numbers and facts I can easily look up when I need them? So now it's like, put it in your phone. Of course, he didn't like anything to complicate his life, and dealing with a phone that could break would have been an issue. But anyway, the basic concept is good. Now, one thing with this, especially with the more important stuff, they mentioned that when people type things into the phone, they need the phone to remember them. But when they write them out, it tends to help the memory. I think it's a slight variation on that in real life. When people type, they're kind of like typing letters and words, not thinking about what they're saying. If you are just writing down dictation that someone says the words, I don't think it's much different. I always found, though, if I wrote down, like studying concepts for a test, if I wrote down a summary of what I heard in my own words, I didn't have to look at it again. The writing down in my own words sealed in the concept.
But can't you just move that into the digital side thing and put things in your own words from a digital standpoint?
Again, they would have to do tests to see if you're putting in your own stuff digitally, or because when you're writing, I don't think about letter by letter. If I think of the concept and you're just writing, and of course in my handwriting it doesn't matter because no one could read it anyway. But even the brain may take a pause because it's thinking of buttons to press, not the word itself when it's doing it. So there may be a disconnect. There's also what parts of the brain are involved, because if the brain has to spend more time on the process, it spends less time on paying attention to what's going on. That's the same thing with reading strain. If your eyes are having trouble reading, you can read a paragraph 4 times and not know what it was talking about because your brain is going, keep on it, you eyes. Stop leaving. Same thing when you first learn to drive. If somebody talks to you, you go, shut up, I'm driving. You don't do that when driving is second nature.
But then it's much easier to type something than it is to write something, but it seems to be more reinforced in your brain when writing it.
But you might type faster because that's the actions of the fingers. But you're actually thinking of finger here, finger there, what you're doing. You're not thinking of the word. With writing, you're thinking more of the word you're writing.
Makes sense,
Could
but
be.
you know what this means? More tests need to be done.
You know what? If you were trying to print like Felix Unger with, who typed this? And he goes, no, I just write very neatly. So if you just sat there going, perfect N, perfect O. Now, do you remember what you wrote? No.
Identify your problems, but give your power and energy to solutions. Your past does not equal your future. The path to success is to take massive and determined action. Tony Robbins. Sometimes magic is just someone spending more time on something than anyone else might reasonably expect. Raymond Joseph Teller.
Dead bug biofilm, creating a powerful evaporation battery.
I'm waiting for my dead bugs to rev up. Yes, this one is talking about a bacteria that uses the process of producing power through evaporation. And since half of the sunlight in the world is used to make water evaporate, that's a big source of energy there. So they had this bacteria that does this very well. And their problem was it was hard to keep this bacteria alive. So they said, let's try how much we can work with it if it's not alive. And it turns out that this bacteria is better at producing electricity dead than alive. So they're going to use this bacterial biofilm on skin to make use of the evaporation of sweat to produce electricity to run your watch, recharge your phone. If you have medical things on measuring stuff, that they'll be powered. And they found it not only does it not interfere with the sweat, it makes the sweating more efficient. So it's better at cooling the person and powering their devices.
So in the near future, your Apple Watch or Samsung Watch or might be powered by a bacterial biofilm.
Which is the difference between a dead battery and a battery of the dead.
But then I have to ask if it's based off evaporation. If you're dehydrated, is your watch not going to be as efficient?
What if your watch is measuring your hydration and goes dead because you're dehydrated?
And that's why you built in to let you know they have the water calculator. Drink more water.
Quick, before the unit dies. This unit is dead. But we can call the battery the undead battery. It's the battery of the undead.
It is a rough road that leads to the heights of greatness. Throw me to the wolves, and I will return leading the pack. Difficulties strengthen the mind as labor does the body. Associate with people who are likely to improve you. Lucius Annaeus Seneca. Start where you are. Use what you have. Do what you can. Arthur Ashe. We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit. Aristotle. When everything seems to be going against you, remember, the airplane takes off against the wind, not with it. Henry Ford.
Mark, what year is it again?
In the year 65, won't need no husband, won't need no wife. You'll pick your son, you'll pick your daughter too. From the bottom of a long glass tube. Whoa, whoa.
Well, that's very appropriate, Mark, as the next article is synthetic embryos grown from stem cells. You don't need a sperm or an egg anymore, just a good old test tube and some stem cells. Now, in this situation, they're making mouse embryos, using the stem cells to create 3 different cell types that were eventually mixed together, one to create the yolk, one to create the placenta, the other the embryo, and they were mixed together in their version of an artificial womb, which is a controlled temperatured flask, I guess, that was eventually mixed around. Now, they weren't overly successful in this venture. I think about 0.5%.
0.5%.
0.5%, so even worse than expected in creating these clones. Now, this research is not to create clones or to build your child in a test tube, which is sad but possible, but not legally possible at the moment. But this was to use to develop organs for those who need organ transplant, a cheap and effective way to make fresh organs.
Fresh organs.
Mark, how long would it take to grow a liver?
Mouse liver, less than 2 weeks. Human liver, longer.
No, I might need a new one of those soon. No.
Oh, well, for answers to growing livers, stay tuned to our future podcast when we'll go into that in depth. This technology ain't no chopped liver.
Hustle beats talent when talent doesn't hustle. Ross Simones. You cannot always control what goes on outside, but you can always control what goes on inside. Wayne Dyer. Courage is the most important of all the virtues because without courage, you can't practice any other virtue consistently. Maya Angelou. We need to accept that we won't always make the right decisions, that we'll screw up royally sometimes. Understanding that failure is not the opposite of success, it's part of success. Arianna Huffington. Resilience is when you address uncertainty with flexibility. Author unknown. You have to make the dream come true. You can't keep dreaming until it happens. Dr. Mark Hertzberg.
Bizarre study finds common parasite can make you more attractive. Now,
Okay, good looking. What's your excuse?
Now, this bizarre parasite, Toxoplasma gondii, also known as T. gondii for short, is the one that creates the fatal attraction phenomena in which when mice are infected, they are they found attractive to cat urine, as well as more risk adverse or less risk adverse, and they end up being eaten by cats because they're hanging around cats instead of being afraid of them, which then causes the cat to be infected with T. gondii and eventually gets passed on, and the parasite keeps moving from host to host and I guess multiplying. So.
Right. The host has a life cycle that requires both a rat and a cat.
Mm-hmm.
So it grows in the rat and causes the rat to get to the cat. As far as the liking cat urine, that was a South Park episode where people were illegally sniffing cat urine, I remember. But one thing we should say that we're not advising people quite go out and get parasites to get better looking yet, even though it is cheaper than all the makeup and working out and all that. As Billy Joel said, don't go changing to try and please me. There's a little risk involved. But getting back to how it works, number one, it increases testosterone, which can make people less risk averse. Now, a lot of what it does, they would expect to affect men more than women, but they found that not true. In fact, it might be the opposite. Some of the things were affecting women more than men, but humans are very weird mammals that way. And it did one other thing, which is it said it made the face more symmetric. And one of the few things is universally attractive is symmetry. Now, this is not from this article, but there was an article years ago where they found if you take 1,000 pictures that people consider ugly people and 1,000 pictures that people say those are beautiful people, and you have a computer make a composite of the ugly ones and a composite of the beautiful ones, the same people who separated them think both composites are gorgeous. And that's because when you put enough random people together, it always winds up averaging out and being symmetric. And the more symmetric, the more beautiful, regardless of the source material.
But this is an interesting idea because most parasites, when you're sick, you become less attractive to other individuals. You're less likely, the opposite sex is less likely to mate with you when you're showing signs of being unhealthy. So it seems that in this parasite, it's a way of kind of suppressing itself or having other influences. So it's not showing your sickness, it's adjusting certain features about you to improve its ability to be passed on to the next host.
Well, it would make sense that eventually if a parasite was successful enough that it made you sick and you stopped passing on the parasite, if it needed that in its life cycle, then bit by bit, the ones that survived would be the ones that made you less sickly looking, and eventually it would be the ones that made you better looking to continue that process. And of course, this was predicted in Futurama, where Fry got hungry at a space diner at truck stop and ate a sandwich that was sitting in a vending machine for hundreds of years, and the parasites in it that were intelligent rebuilt his brain to make him intelligent and more attractive and get the girl. So Matt Groening once again was ahead of the curve.
The question is, does T. gondii cause any negative effects?
Ask the rat.
Oh, the rat was eaten, but I mean, we haven't been chased down by saber-toothed tigers in years.
Speak for yourself.
So I'm just curious if there's no negative, and only positive. I'm surprised it's not something on the market, or maybe there is. I don't know.
As of now, I will assume that if you're going to take a parasite, that you already have one, and that's why you're risk averse. Until someone really can assure everybody that the parasites are harmless, I would assume that that's not true. Maybe that's why they tested them on mice and not men. And I would assure everyone that our sponsor, KINETIQ Renew, that by making you more alert and energetic can make you more attractive, contains no parasites.
It might even help you avoid a parasite if it's making you more alert. Unless you're a risk-adverse individual, in which case, if you're risk-adverse initially, you might have a higher chance of getting the parasite than you're going to be. Sorry, if you're less risk-adverse initially.
Well, risk-averse people aren't listening to us because we're not a risk-averse podcast type, are we?
Very true.
I think you've done a pretty good job this week.
Oh, do I get time off?
I think you get time off for good behavior, and you could sign off. I give you permission. So let it be written, so let it be done.
Thank you again for joining us on this episode of Kinetic Life Podcast. So until next time, I'm your host, Mike Shalavudis.
And I'm still Mark Hertzberg.
Signing off. Good day, good night.
Good luck. Bye-bye.
We're sponsored by KINETIQ Renew. KINETIQ Renew is the 4-ounce shot of all natural ingredients that delivers some amazing benefits, like improved mental clarity, long and short-term focus, and improved memory and cognition. Plus, KINETIQ Renew improves mood with the added benefits of anti-stress and anti-anxiety. KINETIQ Renew provides antioxidants and neuroprotection. And all this with no caffeine, no artificial flavors, sweeteners, or colors, and it's only 5 calories. KINETIQ Renew is what you drink to arrive focused and alert, and you won't get that caffeine or sugar crash. Visit KineticLife.com today. That's KINETIQ Life.com and try it. Use promo code POD1 for a special 30% discount. That's POD and the number 1, POD1 for a limited time 30% discount. KineticLife.com. KINETIQ Life.com. Do it now. Give it a try. You're going to love it. The 30% off is for a limited time, so log on now for the savings. Thank you for listening to the Kinetic Life Podcast. Catch a new show every other Thursday. You'll find us everywhere you can listen to a podcast. And remember, be safe, have fun, and go for your dreams. This podcast is for entertainment purposes only and should not be considered professional advice. All comments, jokes, views, and ideas expressed are those of the hosts or guests and do not represent any company or organizations with whom they may be affiliated. Always make sure to consult your own physician before starting any new diet, supplement, or exercise routine. Oh, and there's one more thing. If you're working on something that you really care about, you don't have to be pushed. The vision pulls you. Steve Jobs.